Dvorak was unbelievable.
He nailed it.
He did a fantastic job.
What a great presentation. Enthusiastic, energy, kept the audience laughing, kept things going.
It was a wonderful experience, highly motivational.
It was meaningful, great content, very touching at moments. So great job all around.
I just love your presentation, the humor, but it has substance in there. And I'm coming away as a better person as a result of that laughter, which is good for the soul.
At DMG International, my organization, we study motivation and how it impacts organizations and individuals. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Motivation, inspiration, but how we can lighten up in this industry that is changing so much. And that's what many of the senior leadership, the new officers have spoken to you about, change. Mach 5 with your hair on fire each and every day. Is it whitewater? You bet. Perpetual whitewater. But motivation is a key foundation to any successful individual or successful organization. We've studied motivation for decades. We've studied organizations, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, and individuals. In fact, over 58,000 people have gone through our motivational training. And I want to share with you, distill that down to share with you where your own unique individual motivational style is. I'm going to show you 4 symbols. I want each and every one of you to identify with one symbol and one symbol only. When I shout out that symbol and you identify with that one, I want you to raise your hand. How many of you identify with the red starburst relative to motivation? Raise your hand. That's telling me that you're well organized and methodical. How many of you with the blue cube? That's telling us that you're bold and decisive relative to motivation. How many of you identify with the gray pyramid? Raise your hand. That's telling us you're obsessed with sex and booze. How many? He's raising his hand now. How many of you identify with the yellow cylinder? Raise your hand. Too late, the joke's over. Happy birthday to the most impotent man in the family. Tight end returns after colon surgery. Now that's funny. And do we have any atheists in the room? Not to offend any atheists, but here's an atheist's tombstone. Here lies an atheist, all dressed up and no place to go. Now this is my cousin Chris. He didn't go to college, but he makes the most money. Talk about having to have a positive attitude. When you got your hands in crap each and every day, he's whistling and skipping all the way to the bank. How many of you know anyone that suffers from an STD? Don't take it to the gutter, folks, and no pointing. We can talk about it offline. STD, stinking thinking disorder, or the literal definition, carpe diem, or seize the day. I submit to you and invite you to consider the power of our thoughts, the power of our attitude affects our lives both personally and professionally. Look at the state of humor or comedy in 2014 versus what it was in the 50s and 60s. Today's humor is normally at the expense of someone else to make them feel less than, to tear down, and not to build up. I'm not talking about that kind of humor. In the 50s, we used to laugh up to 18 minutes a day. In 2013, we laugh less than 6 minutes a day. 1 minute of laughter is equal to 10 minutes on a rowing machine. It's just plain good for you, because when you laugh, you disconnect yourself from your reality. You can't be thinking about pain or stressful things when you're having a good, hearty guffaw. In fact, you're connecting with someone on a deep emotional, mental, and spiritual basis when you laugh. That type of humor that builds up and doesn't tear down. You can't think about your stressors in your life. It's just plain good for you. At the end of a day, a week, a month, a quarter, a year, on this journey we call life and living, having a little more fun, happiness, and fulfillment. I submit to you and invite you to consider that the power of thought, attitude, can change the world. It has. Look at Gandhi, Dr. King. Amazing things can happen with the right mindset. The whole world is tripwired negative. If you don't believe me, watch CNN. Get USA Today, get a copy of the Chicago Tribune. There's an old adage in the news and media business, if it bleeds, it leads. Good news travels fast, bad news travels even quicker. They're actually at the University of Chicago studying the effects of optimism on the mind, body, and the soul, but also as a competitive advantage in business. Optimists live on average of 8 years longer than a pessimist. How many of you took Psychology 101? And in Psychology 101, there's that self-fulfilling prophecy. That which we think about most consciously, subconsciously, becomes our reality. And if it's negative, with negativity and drama and victimhood, that's the life that we live.
Now, 598, what does that mean to any one of you? May of 1998. If you're from Chicago right now, it's about the price of a gallon of gas. Or in Chicago, we have the Chicago Cubs. About September before the playoffs, it's their record, 5 wins and 98 losses. But in May of 1998, 3 things happened to me that rocked my world, turned it upside down, that challenged how I fundamentally viewed life.
My dad fell out of a 3rd-floor window to his death. He didn't jump. I got sober for the first time. I had a very bad alcohol and cocaine problem. And then May 18th, 1998, 1:37 p.m., St. Alexis Hospital Complex in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, Doctors Building 2, Suite 515 at 1:37 p.m., Dr. Jeffrey Bacall's office. Doug, you've got cancer. And for me, when I was given the C word, my reaction was the big D word, that of denial. That happens to someone else. That can't happen to me. I was a highly charged and focused sales and marketing executive in the information technology space. Had enjoyed great career success, great financial success. In fact, the trajectory of my life was on that hedonistic treadmill, acquiring more stuff. He who dies with the most toys wins. And I realized at that point in time, May 18th at 1:37 p.m., I had to make some changes at a very guttural level eventually. First and foremost, I had to suit up and show up and deal with this cancer. I was so focused. I had a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan, and a 3-month plan, a 1-month plan, a 1-week plan, a 1-day plan, and sometimes an hourly plan. And when you're given that shock of cancer or a death sentence, that happens to someone else. That doesn't happen to me. My life is going the way it should be. The power of thought and optimism. But I was on that treadmill, that hedonistic treadmill. So I got involved, actively involved in my care plan. And I got involved in a cancer survivors group, ladies and gentlemen. Made the most deepest, meaningful relationships outside of my family that I ever had. Shared this challenge, this journey with some other much braver individuals. Not everyone survived. But in this cancer survivor group that was being studied by some PhDs and MDs for the benefit of a cancer survivors group, we found out a number of things. That the factors cancer survivors cite in preventing a recurrence, 4% of the time you needed to be lucky. 5% of the time you don't know. You got to roll the dice and take a chance 11% of the time on complementary therapies. You got to get outside of yourself, that sea of me, and quit being an eye doctor. I, me. Get outside of yourself. Connect with something greater or larger, however you define it. Maybe it's your place of worship, your mosque, your synagogue, your church, humanity, the environment, your family, giving something back. The most important thing for me was to get outside of myself, that sea of me. Reduce stress, exercise to the best of our ability, live a more healthy lifestyle, watch what I put in my mind and my mouth. But 60% of the time, we found that a positive attitude in concert with a great healthcare team can help you to overcome cancer. It certainly did for me. I want to ask you this question. How many of you have a refrigerator at home? And in that refrigerator, you've got milk and dairy products with an expiration date. I believe if you don't take enough risk, just like when those meat and dairy products go beyond that expiration date, they spoil, you'd never eat them because you'd get sick, you throw them out. I believe if we don't take enough risk, those opportunities are perishable like meat or dairy products. They have an expiration date. I had a chance, I was asked the morning of to go on this microflight. Was I scared? You bet. Did I have butterflies? You bet. But I wanted those butterflies to fly in formation. So I went with my German pilot, Hans, that's me.
If you had a close-up of me, you would see that my hands and fingernails are permanently impaled in the side handles. Was I scared? You bet. The one thing I didn't have that I wish I had, adult diapers, depends.
Wanted to climb Everest, 29,000 feet and some change. But cancer wiped me out mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. So I did the next best thing. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, 19,340 feet. It was tough. But each and every one of you have gone through a 598 in some way, shape, or form. We don't get out of this journey we call life and living without a little pain. So as you have gone through or are going through or will go through a 598, what is your Everest? What is your Kilimanjaro? What is your Victoria Falls? Don't should on yourselves. Risk a little more. Life can be tough, but life can also be grand. Ladies and gentlemen, 85% of the world's population wishes they were you. You, and you. Held your passport, had your job, had access to security, healthcare, educational, and professional opportunities. We're building walls on the border not to keep people from leaving, but to keep people from coming in. There's great opportunities even amongst all the stress that we have day in, day out. Can we really motivate people? Are we all powerful, all knowing? Well, perhaps, but you can't really motivate people. All you can do is create a motivational environment in which they can motivate themselves. So are you creating that environment at your place of work? Are you paying it forward? Are you being more positive? And the only question you'll ever have to ask yourself relative to motivation. No more books unless you want to buy some of my books at the back. Just kidding. The only question you'll ever have to ask yourself relative to motivation. What would you do if you had only 90 days to achieve your goal, or you would lose that which you cared about most forever? Pretty important, deep question. How many of you drive? How many of you have a sun visor? How many of you can get an index card and a rubber band? This is called in-your-face kind of goal setting. After my 598, I lived this. I ate this. I thought about it. What was important to me? I need to course correct the ship, my life. Ask yourself that question. What would you do if you had only 90 days to achieve your goal, or you would lose that which you cared about most forever? Put that on an index card with a rubber band in your sun visor, even if it's cloudy outside. It's in your face kind of goal setting. How many of you know or have heard of Best Buddies? It's a great organization that pairs quote-unquote normies like us with really cool or special young people in grade schools, but primarily in high schools and colleges, to create best buddy relationships. I served on the Illinois board for a couple of years, and I met Jeffrey Douglas. You see, Jeffrey suffers from Fragile X syndrome, a chromosomal disorder that affects how he lives, thinks, processes, eats, etc. His parents, Deb and Drex Douglas, have been wonderful parents. They've given him every opportunity that they can afford. And each and every year I carve out about a week out of my busy schedule to do one-on-one guide time with Jeffrey. Last year we went on a one-week backpacking trip in and around Vail, Colorado, to the 10th Mountain Division hut system. And this is a picture taken on the last day of our trip, 20 to 30 miles each and every day with a 40 to 50 pound backpack. I'm forcing a grimace for this picture, and Jeffrey's smiling. Jeffrey's always smiling. I wish I had what Jeffrey had, how he sees the world, how he interprets, how he reacts with people. And on that last day, I took this picture of a grove of aspens. And I want to pose this question to you. How many trees do you see? More often than not, the response is hundreds, thousands. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the world's largest living organisms. One root system, all interconnected. If you've been out west recently, Montana, Idaho, Colorado, you've seen the devastation, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres of destruction to the lodgepole pine by the beetle. If one insect bores into one of these aspen trees, it has the potential to kill thousands. Just as one bad attitude in a family, an organization, persistent bad attitude, can bring down the life force, the focus of that organization or family. We're all interconnected. You know, sometimes we think, Gosh, the universe is unkind to me. Let me share an interesting short story with you about an individual who had death, illness, failure repeatedly. Not a small diet, a full 24/7 buffet of negativity and the universe. So in 2009, he was born in a one-room house. In 2012, his brother Thomas dies. In 2018, his mother Nancy dies. In 2028, his sister Sarah dies. In 2031, he tried his hand at business for the very first time and failed miserably. In 2032, he ran for a seat in the state legislature and is defeated. 34, returns to business again and fails again. Illness, death, business failure, public office failure. In 35, his girlfriend Sarah dies unexpectedly, crushing him. And to no one's surprise, he suffers a massive nervous breakdown. Then he runs for the U.S. Congress in 43, 46, and 48 and is defeated each and every time. In 55 and 58, he runs for the U.S. Senate and is defeated. 56, takes a break in between, runs for the vice presidency and is defeated. Then in 60, he's elected president of these United States. Not 1960, 1860. You think we got problems now? A country divided by a long, arduous, painful civil war. A country divided north and south. An economy on the precipice of complete and utter financial ruin. Raging Indian wars to the west. That man, ladies and gentlemen, Illinois' own Honest Abe. And I love what Lincoln said. Whatever you are, be a good one. Because most people think all the competition for business and personal success is up here. It's all down here. What equals 100% in life? Here's a little mathematical formula that will help you to calculate that. If A through Z is represented as 1 through 26, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, then hard work equals 98%. You've got to work hard today to be successful. Knowledge, 96%. Hard work, knowledge, subject matter expertise, but attitude, 100%. Attitude coupled with hard work and knowledge. Conclusion? Therefore, we can conclude with mathematical certainty that while hard work and knowledge will get you close, attitude will get you there. Choose to have a winning attitude. It truly and indeed is a 100% choice. It's people suiting up and showing up, giving 80, 85, 90, even 99%. Because at the end of the day, you're not simply in the default services industry, the restoration business, fixing a toilet. Each and every one of you, regardless of the title on your business card or moniker that you hold within your organization, you are the CEO. You're the Chief Everything Officer. You're the Chief Enthusiasm Officer. And you're the Chief Executive of Optimism. It's incumbent to you, if you're a leader or regardless of your position in the organization or in the community. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the commitment of excellence you make in your chosen field of endeavor. Suit up and show up with excellence. Give that 100%. Live a good, honorable life. Then when you get older and think back, you'll be able to enjoy it a second time. Because ultimately, you decide. And remember to have more fun out there. Because if you don't have more fun, this could happen to you.
There once was a man who never romped nor played.
He never smoked, he never drank, nor even kissed a maid.
And when he upped and passed away, insurance was denied.
For since he never lived, they claimed he never died. Thank you. Happy anniversary, Navs. Thank you, Cisco Partners. Have an awesome 2014. Give me a hoorah.
See you, Rio Rancho.